Joining me now is Jason Isaac. He's the founder and CEO of the American Energy Institute. Thanks for being here, Jason. Will you please explain why we're just always paying and paying and paying, and it always just seems to take forever to get it back? Is something going on here that DOJ needs to investigate?
Sure, David, and thank you for your attention to this matter. What's happening is when the prices go up quick, like a rocket, it's because of volatility, typically around the world in markets. And those independent gas station owners, most of them are independents, big oil. The major oil companies aren't in the business of owning gas stations anymore. So these independents, they're concerned. They don't know how much that next tanker of fuel is going to cost. It's going to show up and fill up the tanks on their site. So that's why the prices go up. And now what we're seeing is 6 weeks of declining gas prices at the pump, and that's a good. So the feather effect is happening. Unfortunately, it's not happening fast enough, and I understand the president's frustrations. But they're buying gasoline that was refined a few weeks ago, that was refined with oil that was more expensive, that's worked its way to the rack, and now is getting loaded onto a truck and being delivered to a station at a lower cost. And so those lower costs are getting passed on to consumers. And again, I understand the president's frustration with these companies and the price at the pump. The Americans are feeling it. We're down 60 cents since the height of the war here. But again, 6 weeks of declines. We're going to continue to see declines, and Americans will continue to see relief. But I really feel like his pressure or his frustration should be put somewhere else on the majors. They could have increased production during the Iran conflict in the Permian Basin, but they chose not to because they're paying companies to take natural gas that they're producing when they could be flaring it, which is a pollution control technology that's been in practice for over a century. Many of the independents do it, but the boardrooms have been captured of these major oil and gas companies. And so they've made these ESG commitments that they won't flare, that they'll reduce emissions. And that's the same reason why none of the major oil and gas companies bid on leases in Anwar, where there's proven reserves, where there's infrastructure to get oil to market. I mean, this is great quality oil, and not a single major oil and gas company bid on these new leases. So at one point, these companies are embracing the drill, baby, drill agenda of the president. But on the other hand, they're not. And they're fighting against him in Venezuela by kind of waffling on commitments to increase production in Venezuela and to invest in Venezuela. I think he showed his frustrations there shortly after January 1st when he had all the executives in the White House. And so I think his frustration is certainly warranted, and it is valid, maybe not on the price gouging at the pumps.
Well, look, I mean, it's worthy to at least investigate it. But what I'm hearing you say is basically the volatility of something like a war. It causes people to get very concerned. What will that do short term to the price of oil? So speculators trade it and it shoots up, and then the gas pumps, well, the gas station providers are paying more money for that gas. And then, of course, it takes a long time for. That makes sense. I can understand that. I wish the volatility worked in the other direction. When oil drops $30 a barrel, I wish people were quick to drop the prices. But I understand why they wouldn't, because that insecurity of not knowing if oil is going to go back up, if I had a business, I wouldn't want to rush to lose all my profits in case oil shoots up even higher than it was before. I get that. So maybe there's nothing bad happening here. But certainly what you brought up was an excellent point, and maybe we should look at the supply side. And we're already producing record amounts of oil and liquid natural gas, but maybe we do more. Maybe we fill up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve when gas is cheap and oil is cheap, when Biden emptied it out when it was expensive, and maybe that can help offset some of these price hikes. Maybe there's another strategy here, but I do appreciate the fact that the president is at least saying, hey, we're going to look into this. If you guys want to know if it's gouging, we're going to at least look into it. Even if there's no there, it's nice that at least the president is not going, rockets and feathers, guys, sorry, nothing we can do. So, I mean, at least he's looking into it. We'll see what happens. So after this war, now that this conflict is over, do you think now gas prices are coming down? They're going to hit record lows. I think by November, people are going to be pretty happy when they're traveling on our highways, right?
Yeah, I think by Labor Day, you're going to see people that are pretty happy. You're going to probably see an increase of mileage amongst American consumers getting out and traveling this summer. They're going to do so by car because gasoline is going to be affordable. And I think you're right on the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Look, during the past administration, they drained 180 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve right before a midterm election to try to lower cost, to influence the election. President Trump has taken 172 million barrels out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, along with 31 other countries, in a coordinated effort to try to keep prices as low as possible for the global oil market. Now, that oil is going to be repaid by the companies that took it. Some of the companies that he was calling out by very name in the White House yesterday, they're going to be replacing that oil with a higher quality grade oil and a premium 15 to 22% starting this year through 2028. So that's going to be great for the American consumers. We weren't selling it low to these companies. We were actually loaning it out. We'll get more back and a higher quality and a higher volume.
Well, let's all hope that comes out. Look, Trump's big on energy. Obviously, nobody's going to question Trump's energy policy versus Biden's and assume that Biden's is any better. I mean, they'll make the argument, but clearly Biden's prices were high for no reason. Our prices were high because it was a war. They're going to go back down, and that's just common sense. I don't understand anybody arguing against that. But thank you so much for being here and giving us your take on it. And look, let's all wait for cheap gas, and then they'll find something else to complain about, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Thanks for having me on, David. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for being here.